line where they couldn't get the key just
Oh,
right?
yeah, well, it's the best they could do back then. No Ultimate.
Hi, Michael Kamas here, just engaging in some small banter. This is day one of the KeyCode Media booth at NAB New York 2025. And today, right now, I'm joined by Jim McKenna of Facilis Technology. Jim, how the hell are you?
Michael, doing great. Thank you so much for having me in this glorious booth.
This glorious booth. Thank you, I appreciate that. So, we got a lot to get to. I want to hear some of the things that you're showing or announcing or maybe shipping that was announced earlier this year at NAB 2025. So tell me a little bit about what Facilis is discussing and showing and talking about this year.
Sure. I'll throw some numbers at you first.
I like zeros and ones.
833 is a version number of the hub shared storage. That's shipping pretty, it had shipped already about a couple weeks ago. With that, we're doing some new fixes for things like fast cache and our preloader program, which is giving us caching, on demand for remote workstations. And I'll talk about fast cache a little bit more. We're also showing 383 of Fast Tracker. Those numbers kind of line up, so it's confusing. But that's shipping this week or next, so imminently at the NAB show here in New York City.
So, for folks who aren't familiar with fast cache, can you extrapolate on what fast cache is and what it enables remote editors?
Certainly, it's one of those things that you kind of wish everybody would just get as information sort of bled into their head like all at once by osmosis, because it's kind of difficult for people to get their heads around what client-side caching really is. People are used to synchronization workflows. People are used to different methods of getting data to the desktop, especially of remote editorial workstations.
Push-pull, right? Almost like the old FTP model. You push somewhere, then you download.
Is it so I'm playing off of this local hard drive or SSD, or am I playing off the server? So a lot of our customers, what they're doing is they're doing remote access via our WAN link, and WAN link is a method for us to speed up the access to your on-prem storage from wherever you happen to be in the world over an internet connection. I like to say it's, continental is great. Once you start hopping oceans, I mean, that gets a little difficult, but that's where fast cache comes in as well, because fast cache is a great feature to put on top of WAN link, connected clients, because fast cache is going to cache everything down to an SSD drive that you're reading from the server. So the OS doesn't know about it, the application doesn't know about it, everyone still thinks you're reading directly from the server, but you're actually reading from the cache. Anything that you've already played back, in your timeline or in your source clips are coming off the cache drive, which is something that's really going to improve, of course, your ability to sustain higher bit rates over a lower bit rate connection. And for people who are doing remote access, that's great, but also for people who are on-prem, who have maybe a network issue or something, or the IT switch they're using isn't great, fast cache drives there are going to help them out a lot. And even in the case of color correction, if you're caching, sort of rendered frames, in a resolve situation, for example, and a lot of people use the same cache volume from their Facilis server among multiple resolve workstations, so they can move room to room and make sure the cache is all there of stuff that's been rendered by the resolve workstation on the color correction. If you make that volume a fast cache volume, it means it's being cached locally. As soon as you write those frames through, you're now hitting the cache every time you read that frame again. So the network load goes down, the server load goes down, and everyone is playing much nicer on the network and together collaboratively because they have that cache drive available on the workstation.
And from the financial portion is that we're all inundated with subscriptions, right? Mm-hmm. And being able to use something like fast cache effectively eliminates, hey, we have to then pay for a third-party cloud platform that enables this kind of edit in place while it's sitting on the storage. You now no longer have that third party where you have to push to or let it sit there and wait. You now can do it all from your on-prem storage, poke a hole responsibly through your firewall, and as they say in Australia, Bob's your uncle.
Exactly.
Right.
Well, Australia or jolly England
yes.
as well. So what in doing that, it's an encrypted, authorized by workstation and of course by user account. So there's lots of levels of protection when it comes to accessing that data across WAN link and into the fast cache. And of course, we don't like to upload anything to the cloud. We think that cloud is great for disaster recovery, archive and backup offsite, things like that. Right. Okay, fine. That cloud is very good for that. As a daily workflow tool, the cloud is cumbersome, and it's costly. you know?
Yes.
And renting storage over a long period of time is going to cost you a lot more than buying storage. And our customers already own storage that's going to work great for this purpose. We just need to give them access to it. So Facilis is all about connectivity and access. If you can't connect, if you can't access, you can't work. That's both on-prem and remote. So we make the connectivity better through WAN link, and we make the access better over fast cache for high bit rate on low bit rate connections.
So historically, when folks have looked at Facilis or any other competitors out there, if we go back in time, it was what storage is the most performant and had the most uptime and worked with the majority of my applications. We've now seen the fact that that's just a base level. That's expected.
Sure.
There's now software layers on top of that.
Yep.
And I don't think a lot of folks, or as much as I would like to think that, I don't think enough folks know about Fast Tracker.
Oh, Fast Tracker, sure. Well,
so can you kind of talk about what Fast Tracker is
yeah.
and how it works with Facilis and how one gets it and all that?
Of course, yeah. I mean, what you talked about before, though, is important because performance storage is very important. Our shared file system optimizes the performance between the client and the server, gives you the best performance possible on the pipe that you have, much greater than SMB, especially as you get into the 50 gig and 100 gig connections, which some of our customers are doing.
Don't ignore that. Look at shared storage that have file systems.
Yes.
Those are performant. Other NAS systems which rely on, as you said, SMB mounts, don't have sustained throughput,
well,
right?
You're going to be limited by the SMB limitations that every platform and
right.
OS has, right? So you can get around those in certain ways, but you're always paying for something, some sort of a client or some sort of a piece of software to do that. So we include that. We include our shared file system and everything. And the idea behind the shared file system is that you get more features around with it too. You get the ability to do access control outside the realm of sort of ACLs normally you'd be using in NAS storage. Access control, we call it smart access rules, lets you get all the way down to the file system or the file type itself. You can't delete MXFs, but I can. I can ingest things to a folder, but I can't read them back afterwards. This is block storage that's being addressed as if it with sort of object storage type access control, and we're the only ones that are really doing that because we have a shared file system. We don't need to work by the NAS rules.
Right.
But to get on Fast Tracker a little bit, this is a product that we've had for a while, but right now, in its current form in 3.8.3, I'm really impressed with what our developers have been able to do because we were adding features for so long, and that's all the way through, of course, local transcription on site, AI tagging through Google Vertex, all the things we're doing with transcoding and proxy generation and automations on a filter basis and metadata basis. We've been doing that for a long time. We've been adding all those features. In this latest version, we said we need to make this a little bit more usable because all these features are getting kind of jumbled all together and the interface itself isn't really keeping up. So this latest release is an interface release. Customized modules within the interface. I can save out different layouts for different user accounts. I can make sure that when you log in, you get all the details because you're a power user and you see all the metadata, you see the markers, you see the browse pane. But when a producer logs in, maybe they just see the viewer and a marker area where they can go in and set markers and log certain things like on certain time codes. So just the ability for to scale thumbnails up and down, things like that, we never really got around to. So 3.8.3 is a great release for that in particular. It makes the UI really elegant.
Well, we've also seen the fact, as I mentioned earlier, the concept of just having performance shared storage has now become what else it comes with it. Fast Tracker, Fast Cache, etc. A lot of our clients have archives or have tier 2 or tier 3 storage.
Sure.
So how is Facilis handling interop with third-party tools that manage that or managing it directly?
Well, we've had since 2019 a method of archive to both cloud and LTO that's been integrated directly with our servers. So you don't need a secondary server or a utility workstation or an archive server to be able to do this. And what that gives you as a benefit, of course, besides saving rack space and making the whole thing less, making connectivity less complex, is that it gives you access to everything you're doing immediately. So I make a new volume for a client who's going to ingest some media. I immediately have access to that within the archive software itself. The archive software is a caching system, a different kind of caching. In this case, I make a volume where everything I push to that volume, copy in, or I use Fast Tracker to automate the data movement into it, it goes to LTO based on the folder or to cloud based on that folder, and then it flushes from the volume down to a stub file. And this is the important thing about what this does. This doesn't leave like HTML links here. This is actual files in actual folders that you'd see if you just looked at the original source material as well. And if you don't want to use the MAM or any different ways to restore that, you can just drag that file back to your work volume. It goes to the proper LTO tape in the library and brings it right back.
Now, I would love for you to define that a little bit for folks who are not familiar with what a stub file is and how important that is. Can you kind of demystify that a little bit?
Sure. You have like 10 bytes of data that are at the head of the file that tell you what it is and the important information, what size it is and what the mod dates are and things like that, and the name, of course. And then the rest of the file is all the rich media, right? All the bits and bytes that make up the video and audio and image files and image and everything else.
So it's a shortcut on your desktop, so to speak.
Pretty much. It's basically it's more than just a shortcut because it is the actual file. It just doesn't have all the content.
Right.
Right. So that file is going to be in the same project job structure, the same hierarchy as it was in the source, because we rebuild all of the directory and the hierarchy there. So it's really easy for someone to say, oh, let's restore that project. If you use a different system, it's like, okay, let's go to this other product, this other interface, let's look this up, and then we'll set up a restore plan to go and do this, back to where it was. No. I grab the folder, drag it into the volume that I'm using for this new approval, job, and it just restores automatically off whatever tapes are in the library that was saved to initially.
One last question, and with Fast Tracker and Fast Cache, is there any limitation to what applications are using with it? Are there some NLEs that Facilis and Fast Cache are playing with better than others?
Well, I would say no at the application level. We're going to look the same to every application, except for the fact, of course, we have one of the original Avid Nexus emulations. The Avid Nexus emulation at the OS level. So you don't have to worry about what version of Media Composer you're running. Do you have to hack into the files in Media Composer to make it work? None of that, right? This is just the idea of Media Composer will come up, it'll see that it's Nexus storage, it'll turn on the bin and project locking the same as Nexus storage will, and let you have that whole workflow. In addition to that, because we're getting some requests from Avid customers to maybe change their storage. So to do that, we're putting two new things in place. In 8.4, which is our next major release, we're putting in place the dual link capability, so that if someone has two 1 gig links, and Nexus was always kind of cool that they could do this, take those two 1 gig links and make them into a single path for 2 gigish type speed.
Right.
And we can do that, but we'll do it for 10 gig and 25 gig as well, because we have more power on the server than Nexus does. And so because of that, we're going to be able to take those Nexus clients and move them forward in a very easy way without having to change out too much hardware. The second thing is we're going to be using the SDK from Avid to create a panel for Fast Tracker within Media Composer. So you're going to have that whole workflow of import to the bin for MXFs, and it's going to appear as a master clip, and the beautiful things you can do when you have that kind of interop within the application itself. And of course we already have panels for Adobe and for Resolve. So with that level, once we have that done, we're going to have pretty much parity across the three major tool sets that are in use right now with our additional asset management panels and all the functionality that comes along with that.
I hope folks realize just how earth-shattering is hyperbole, but the fact that Avid, who sells storage that your storage kind of competes against in some respects, has an SDK that they agreed for you to develop against, so you can access Fast Tracker inside Avid. I think that is part of what's happening in the industry is sandboxes are no longer the preferred methodology. It's how can we be open and collaborate with other manufacturers.
And I love it because we've been supporting Avid customers, facilities, and the Avid application for as long as we've been in business. In fact, that's how we got into the business. Was we took these Avid houses that couldn't afford the fiber channel Unity storage, and we were able to move them into a system that was much more cost effective for them. And I love that Avid is doing this now, opening things up a bit. We're not the first storage company to be doing this, so we're not breaking new ground there, but we are, we're happy, to be included in that program.
Well, Jim, thanks so much for your time. I could talk about speeds and feeds all day. We'll have to pick that up another time. I do want to thank you for tuning in to day one of the KeyCode Media booth stream here at NAB 2025 New York. I'm Michael Kamas, and I want to remind you that if you're looking to do system upgrades, whether it be production, post-production, or even AV, KeyCode Media offers advantageous pricing, and we offer a free first-time consultation. And if you ask, I may be able to sit in and give you a hand. So reach out to our team at keycodemedia.com, and we'll catch you on the next stream.